Hello guys and welcome back. This is Mr. Siege, and yes, now it's time for Stephen the Great testing at 5551. So a couple of days ago, or a day ago, I can't remember how long ago, a few days ago, we did some testing with Stephen at 5511, and I actually thought 5551 it could be a lot better. Stephen could be a lot better with like Gonzalo, because he's boosting normal damage as well, taking less range counter attack damage, and I thought this could be a really, I say cheaper investment than expertise in the commander. But the results were kind of surprising, and you'll see why later in the video. So for the first test, obviously Stephen and Gonzalo, 11.4k to 51, 52k. Okay, so that's a bit of a base point. Oh, okay, 14k to 75k. So this is a bit of a base point for the test. Now, we know Cordoba worked better the other day as primary, so let's see how this goes now. So obviously we use Cordoba as primary this time. Now, obviously we're not quite at expertise Stephen yet, and it's going to make a lot of a difference, I think. It's going to make a big difference next time we come to test him. And yeah, that'll be done in a few days once the event's finished. I've got Marauders tomorrow and the day after, so should be able to max the event, get the rest of the heads and expertise him pretty soon. So Cordoba Stephen was the best result last time when testing at 5511, and this time 16k to 87k with 178k remaining. And yeah, that's a lot better than when Stephen was primary. With 186k remaining but only 74k severely wounded. Again guys, you've seen the spreadsheet we've got that Deveska did for us, so everyone can see it, and we're going to compare that at the end. He's already updated the results, which is absolutely amazing, did it straight away. So thank you again to him, and thank you to Jack, which actually helped with the testing today. Now with this testing we use exactly the same commanders, try and keep everything exactly the same as before, no equipment, so we can actually compare results from player to player. If someone's not available to help me, then another person can step in, and hopefully we can get pretty much perfect results. So with Babur Stephen, 14k to 75k, and honestly that is a very good result. With 180k remaining is also quite decent. Babur's quite tanky, so very nice result, and that was the better pairing last time than the Stephen Babur, which we're going to try now. But we're going to do it anyway, and I think when it comes to expertise in Stephen, I may or may not run the march that I don't think is going to perform better. Now what I will say is Stephen is sort of set up to work better with Cordoba right now. So yeah, this is comparing the results from last time. So we've got Babur at 14k to 75k, 180k remaining. And when I go down to look at the other day, well, it says it was a day ago, 15k to 76k, but we had 174k remaining that time. So we've got more remaining troops, which is great. But honestly, like an extra skill level, that's made no difference to the actual severely wounded, really. In fact, it's actually slightly less. Now I know there's a lot of different factors here, but I honestly thought we would be doing quite a bit more damage, because obviously we've got the range counter attack damage reduction, which is great, so we should be taking less damage, and the normal damage bonus, but there is only a 10% chance on that. So you know, maybe that's a problem. Maybe we're not seeing it enough. So we're going back to compare again. Cordoba Stephen, 16k to 87k. Now there is a bit of a difference here. 16k to 80k, we've got 7k more severely wounded and 178k remaining this time, which is slightly better. So I think when Stephen's with Cordoba, the 5551 is actually pretty good, like a decent step up. Now that's about 10% more severely wounded troops over 3 minutes. So if you're in battle for say 15-20 minutes and you're still going, that could make a huge difference. But from the other marches so far, it doesn't seem to have made much difference at all. Now we do know there is a 10% chance to buff Cordoba's active skill, the AoE skill, from that normal damage increase. So this is Stephen Babur, and again it wasn't as good as the Babur Stephen, which we expected from the same results as last time. So now we're going to throw out John with Stephen. And again, this did perform better than Stephen as primary. But John has got a better rage regeneration. Now, again, Stephen's talent tree isn't set up perfectly to work with the skill damage commanders, which it should be. So when I expertise Stephen, I will try him as primary with a full skill talent tree. So yeah, 451% KP ratio, 15k to 66k, and yeah, 166k remaining, so not a great deal remaining. Now we know John is set up to attack troops under 50% health, and again, we are going to do a test to show how effective that can be. But that'll only be when I've maxed Stephen, so wait for a couple of days, and hopefully we'll be able to get a test done. So swapping to Stephen Primary now, and we're expecting worse results here, because Stephen Primary wasn't as great last time at 5511, so really now it shouldn't make any difference. But again, we will mess about with the talent trees next time, and hopefully we can get a better result with Stephen Primary. So here we've got 14k to 57k, which as we can see is a little bit worse. 166k remaining on the John Stephen, 162 remaining on the Stephen John, so it was worse in pretty much all aspects there. But yeah, maybe that max skill tree will perform a lot better with the extra rage regeneration, getting more rage, getting more active skills off. It could make a bit of a difference. So now this is one we didn't try last time, and this is using Margaret with Stephen, and this actually performed pretty well, better than I thought it would do. Now we did know that Margaret and Gauge Armada weren't a great pairing, but obviously there isn't any synergy with the skill and smite. So with this one we've got 15, nearly 16k to 65k, a little bit squishier, did receive a decent amount of severely wounded units, but 185k remaining was quite good. So we've got two lots of heal there, which seems to be working quite well. And let's switch them over. Now, from all testing we've done, Margaret has always been the better primary commander, and I'm expecting nothing different here. So the support tree is very good. Again, that's what John's got. So John does work very, very well as a primary commander. And from the past, like I say, Margaret really hasn't worked well as a secondary commander. So let's see how this one works out. Yeah, 15k to 58k. Yeah, compared to that 16k to 65k. Yeah, it wasn't as good. And there's less remaining troops, 175k, 174k compared to the 185k. So yeah, it was worse as expected. But you know what? With a full skill tree with that one, I think we could potentially see Stephen Primary there. It could be better. So this time we're throwing out Gauge Armada with Stephen. Now this again, we haven't done this test before, so it's going to be quite an interesting one. Again, there's two lots of heal. You probably wouldn't run these commanders together generally, but let's see how it does, and you know, maybe someone will actually run this on the field somewhere, because you know what, it actually wasn't that bad. And let's take a look at these results. So 13k to 68k and 197, 198k remaining is very, very good indeed. So we'll switch them round again, which we're guessing is going to be worse. Gauge does seem to be better as primary commander in terms of helping your longevity in the battle. He does a lot more healing. But we'll switch them around anyway. Obviously, the skill tree isn't preferable for your Gauge Armada. So when I change Stephen next time for the next test we do for full skill tree, there's no point me using Stephen as primary. So I will be avoiding doing that. I think I'm going to run Cordoba Stephen and Gauge Armada Stephen and check those results out when obviously he's maxed. So 13, 14k to 71k, 72k almost, 196k remaining, and that's actually very, very good. Slightly better than Gauge Armada Primary, which is very interesting. you wouldn't really expect it to be. But also, it's very, very similar, to be honest with you. 3k difference with the severely wounded troops. So overall, I think that's quite a similar march. I probably would stick Gauge Armada primary. There's probably something that something maybe triggered more on that time than the time before. So we're actually doing the Cordoba and Stephen again because I just expected a lot more from a 5-5-5-1 Stephen to a 5-5-1-1 Stephen. That extra skill should really make a big difference, and that's a lot of gold heads. So, is it really worth taking Stephen to 5-5-5-1? Yeah, 16k to 87k, 178k remaining, and it is 16k to 87k with 178k remaining this time. It's literally identical results actually, which is very surprising. Yes, it's better than the original results at 5-5-1-1, but not with not a massive amount, not the amount that I'd have expected. So that's kind of surprising. I thought the normal damage bonuses would have been a lot better. So this is an interesting one I thought I'd try out. Catherine obviously expertised, which everyone should be able to expertise at some point very easily, and a 5-5-5-1 Stephen. Now, Catherine's got no heal, so she needs someone that can heal. Obviously, you'd run her with Narcissus, which does help a little bit. But Narcissus is obviously nowhere near as strong as a legendary engineering commander. So how well does Catherine pair with Stephen? And obviously this is Stephen not expertised. So I think the results are kind of surprising. We're getting nearly a 4-to-1 trade here with Catherine and Stephen. 11k to 40k. Now you may not think, oh, that's not amazing, but compared to the Cordoba Stephen march, that's doing 87k severely wounded troops to the enemy. Now it's half as good, okay, but we've got no Gonzalo there. We've got no AOE. We've got a 5-5-5-1 Stephen and an epic range commander. So I actually think that could be a potential great pairing if you want to max one range commander. I mean, obviously would suggest going for Gonzalo every single day of the week, but Stephen's also a good option, and that'll be interesting when we do max Stephen to see how those epic pairings do, because obviously they're skill damage commanders too. And I think Stephen is probably the better option out of your Margaret, your Baba. Yeah, I think and obviously your John, because John really isn't performing that well. And we'll get these results. Obviously, Deveska's done it, stuck it in the spreadsheet. So we'll go and have a look and see how see where those results have actually gone into the spreadsheet and how they compare to the last results in a proper statistical manner. So we've gone into the spreadsheet. So obviously you can see the new results in the yellow. Some of these results in the yellow were obviously the 5-5-1-1 testing. Obviously you can see Cordoba Stephen did actually quite well. Now this is sort of your mid area for results in this spreadsheet. Obviously these are the best pairings. I'd say, yeah, the top 13 pairings here are actually very, very strong. And at the end here you can see the percentage of troops remaining. So the troops remaining is actually massively important, because you want to be able to survive on the field for as long as possible. So if you haven't seen this already, in the description of the video, you can, well, not in the description, in the comment section of the video, you can actually go and enter and have a look at this spreadsheet, and you can compare, the same test repeated over and over again, 3 minutes, obviously each test, how many units we used, obviously the full amount, how many injured we got, how many units remaining we got, the KP gained we got, and obviously the enemy severely wounded. 131k there, and that was surprising. That was Baba Cordoba. But the problem here with this one is the units remaining, 164k. There's no healing on that march, although it absolutely slapped. It's just no healing, so there's not a great amount of sustain. If you're sat at a pass and people are popping out trying to do a few shots at you, or trying to hit someone else in front of you, and you just want to get one skill cast off, or just get a few hits in, that's going to be a very, very strong march. And if people are city popping, you can use that march and you're going to always trade positive. At least you should do, as long as you've maxed the commanders. So It's a great march, but I wouldn't really recommend it because you're not going to last long on the field. It's no good in an altar fight, really, unless you're going to die very quickly. But what is surprising is on this column 13, we've got Cordoba and Stephen at 5551, and he's actually performed very, very well with little amount of investment. Okay, you could invest another 200, 300 heads into this or whatever it is to get to an expertise level. Now, I think the expertise is going to bring him right up here, and you're probably going to get 2 million KP every 3 minutes. But is it worth the amount of gold heads? It's if you've got a farm, I'd say running Stephen at 5511 with Cordoba, you're going to get great results. Is it really worth it for another 100,000 severely wounded every 3 minutes or so for such a great little investment? I'm not quite sure. Now, we did do a Margaret at 5111, and that's down here. So I think Stephen is going to be better than Margaret with Cordoba. At least that's what the test results are showing at the moment, because he's got that healing on his active skill, and I think that's a great thing to have for your ranged march. I think every ranged pairing you have should have a healing commander with them. So guys, if you want to go check this out, it's in the comment section below. Hope you enjoy. Go and look at all the results, and we'll be maxing Stephen very shortly, next couple of days, and you'll see the results. Guys, hope you enjoyed the video. This is Mr. Siege, and bye bye.